Hello everybody, I wanted to give you a quick update on how to document your labs using the new Appendix G. So we went in and we cleaned up the labs to make sure that there were not duplicate lab skills for everything and that it meets the requirements for accreditation, and the only lab skills that you have available are A, the ones that you need, and B, removed any duplicates so that way you know exactly where you need to document all of your skills. So there are a couple changes I wanted to go over with you. When you're on your home page, first thing you're going to see are these blue bars. This gives you a progress report on how you're doing on your skills for just basic competency skills, individual skills, and scenario skills. So if you click on this tab here, you will see under each bar your progress for each one. On the main bar, you'll see the ones that are incomplete. The small arrow is complete. So here you can see all of the ones that have already been completed. So if I click View Basic Competency Skills, notice at the top it says Incomplete Ones. Here's where it just gives you an idea of which ones you have left to do. And if you click on that small triangle to the right, that's where you can view your completed ones for each tab. Now these are broken up between individual skills and scenario skills, which is what I'm going to go through next. So when you create a new lab, you're going to do this same way you've done it before. And let's call this one Airway Skills. But this time when you add skills to the right, you're going to see a different set of options than maybe what you've been used to before. Let's take 1 and 2 rescue or CPR adults, for example. You see it listed twice, but if you look underneath, one says basic competency skill, the other says basic competency scenario skill. And that's true with all the skills you see on here. Like let's take a look at CPAP, for example. CPAP and PEEP individual, CPAP and PEEP individual scenario skill. So the difference is that, like the day in medical principles, when everyone was laying on the tables and putting on CPAP on each other, that would be documented as an individual skill. If we were doing a scenario during respiratory class and you applied CPAP, that would be documented as an individual scenario skill. We have to have both to meet accreditation standards. They want to see how many times you do a skill alone and how many times you do a skill in a scenario. They're also going to be tracking that for how many times you do it live and how many times you do it in a clinical setting, so on a live patient where you're providing care. So that's, the clinical stuff is documented in clinicals, but for labs, that's how you're going to document your labs from now on. You'll see ones that are individual, which means just very basic practice, and then the ones for the scenario, which means you've done this skill in a scenario. And if you want to know your progress on how many times you need to complete, let's say CPAP, for example, in a scenario versus individual, you can go back to your main labs tab, and here you can look under individual progress. So this is what is left to do individual on its own, and then individual scenario progress is what's left to do within a scenario. Now right now you probably don't have anything in the scenarios, and you shouldn't because this hasn't been made available to you yet. So that's where we're going to meet and kind of do a little bit of backlogging to see what needs to be done in a scenario and get those added in. So in the meantime, between now and when we have a chance to meet as a group to go over what you need to add into Platinum, if there's things that you know that you've done in a scenario, you can go ahead and start documenting that. It doesn't require an evaluation from each peer or one of us. You can just go ahead and document that and hit submit for your instructor, and then we'll get those approved and go over what we need to do at the end. Now what's nice about these blue tabs is you can see right away where you're at without running a progress report. So here's everything you can see that you've completed, but if you want to run a report, there is a difference in how you should run that as well. So for your progress report, you should select your course. You should not select a class. Just leave it as all classes, because once you select a class, it won't account for things that I have already adjusted for you to show that you have already met that competency. So when you run the report, it's going to look different than what it has in the past, but now you're going to see here at the top, basic competency skills. So these are all the things that you've done individually, and you'll see on the right how many times you've done it. This is what I went in and manually adjusted for you, taking into account what you've already completed and then just applying that to Appendix G to make sure that you got credit for what you have already documented. Some stuff I did already complete for you in a scenario because I know it was scenarios that we did in class. And then here under lab, these are the things that you have already documented so you can see what's been done and what's left for you to do in each category. The scenarios, you're not going to have too much done yet in scenarios here, and that's okay. Some things we still need to go in and add, but a lot of these aren't going to be done until, we get to medical emergencies where you're doing much more scenarios. And the last one, lab skills progress detail. Everything you see in blue is stuff that you already had documented previously. So I want to make sure you're still getting credit for it. It's just credit beyond what we need for our accreditation standard. So we do still have all of those here, and you'll see you just get an automatic 100% for the ones that you've already had done. So that's how you should document labs. That's the new Appendix G. And if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be setting up a meeting time relatively